after narrating how he met two heroes named Sharkboy and Lavagirl during his summer break, a boy named Max gets mocked by his classmates, who think it's a made-up story. While everyone, including a boy named Linus, makes fun of Max's story, a girl named Marissa doesn't seem to have a problem with it. However, the teacher, Mr. Electricidad, tells Max to go to his seat so that Linus can do his presentation next. When Linus gets in front of the class, he only continues to make fun of Max until the bell rings. As everyone leaves the class, Mr. Electricidad tells Max and Linus to wait behind. He scolds Linus for always picking on Max and adds that the two kids should be friends, but they don't seem interested. As Linus leaves, Mr. Electricidad then turns to Max and tells him to try to make friends in the class instead of constantly dreaming. He adds that Max's dreams will only stop him from seeing the good things in front of him. Max agrees to take the teacher's advice, but as he's leaving, the teacher asks why he always has his journal with him. Max then says it's the journal where he writes the details of all his most precious dreams. As Max heads home, he is again bullied by Linus and some of his friends. They all insist that they want Max's dream journal, but he doesn't give it up. Even though he tries to run away, he eventually loses the book to Linus. Later that night, Max hears the voices of Sharkboy and Lavagirl while he's sleeping. He immediately wakes up and checks around the house to see if it's really his imaginary heroes. As he gets to the kitchen, he discovers that Sharkboy and Lavagirl have actually been to the house, and they've even eaten part of his cookies. Before he can understand what's going on, his parents come out to meet him. They ask why he's not in bed, and he explains why he thinks Sharkboy and Lavagirl came to the house. However, his parents say it's not possible. As he tries to explain further, Max is sent to bed, and while he prepares to sleep, he prays for something terrible to happen, so he doesn't have to go to school the next day. Unfortunately, when he wakes up in the morning, everything around him is just as it always is. While eating breakfast with his dad, Max is presented with a robot named Tobor, which he used to work on while he was younger. However, Max doesn't seem interested in it, because he believes Tobor is only a part of his imagination that can't work. Even though his dad feels sorry for once telling Max that Tobor can't work, this doesn't seem to change his son's mind. As he's then walking to school with his mom, they see some black footprints on the lawn. While his mom tries to understand what could have caused it, Max doesn't seem interested in anything. His mom then asks him why he feels that way, and he says he wishes something could happen so that he won't go to school. However, his mom tells him it's unrealistic, and she encourages him to go to school. Max eventually heads to class, and after a while he sees Linus walk in with his dream journal. Max immediately confronts Linus, and Mr. Electricidad also gets the bully to give up the journal. Max soon realizes that most of his drawings have been destroyed, so he yells at Linus and throws the book back at him. Mr. Electricidad gets angry at this and tells the two boys to bring their parents to school the next day. As he keeps talking, the windows open wide and a storm heads for the class. Mr. Electricidad tells all the kids to lie on the ground, and just as they do, Sharkboy and Lavagirl arrive at the class looking for Max. While everyone is shocked, Lavagirl and Sharkboy tell Max that he needs to follow them to save their home on a planet called Drool. Max doesn't seem to get this, but Lavagirl says he shouldn't be surprised because he's the one who made them up. Max insists that he's not going anywhere because he knows they're not real, but as he closes his eyes and opens them, he sees that they're still with him. He eventually agrees to go with them, but Linus doesn't look happy while having Max's dream journal. Max then joins Sharkboy and Lavagirl on a rocket ship, which takes them to planet Drool. As they get there, Sharkboy and Lavagirl ask Max if he remembers anything, but he says there's only little he can remember. Lavagirl then tells him that he's supposed to remember everything on planet Drool, because that's where all his dreams land. Suddenly, Max sees that the planet is getting dark, so he asks about it. Lavagirl says the planet is dying, because Max's dreams are malfunctioning in a place called the Dream Lair. She also mentions that they brought Max to planet Drool so that he can help them save it. Sharkboy adds that they must get to the Dream Lair to save the planet before they run out of time. As they start thinking of what to do next, the darkness gets closer to them and they have to run. Shortly after, Max sees an endless roller coaster with kids on it. He asks about it, and Lavagirl says a villain named Mr. Electric is the one who made it endless because he doesn't want any of the kids to dream. Sharkboy also mentions that dreams are Mr. Electric's weak point, and that's why he doesn't like them. As he continues to watch the endless roller coaster, Max suggests helping the kids, and shortly after, Sharkboy and Lavagirl get this done. Max then joins them on the roller coaster so they can find Mr. Electric. When they get to his lair, Mr. Electric looks shocked to see them, and as they say they'll get rid of him, he unleashes his plugs on them. Sharkboy and Lavagirl try to fight off the plugs with Max, but Mr. Electric gets hold of them and sends them to the dream graveyard, which is where dreams are buried. On their way, Max sees the dream lair and asks about it again. Lavagirl mentions that something is destroying Max's dreams in the dream lair, and that's why there's a problem on planet Drool. She then asks if he remembers any of his dreams, but Max says he doesn't remember anything, and it's why he writes them down in his dream journal, which he left back on Earth. Meanwhile, Mr. Electric gets a message from a superior villain named Minus, who asks how things are going. Mr. Electric explains everything that happened, and how he has also sent Max and his heroes to the dream graveyard. Minus doesn't seem to like this, and he insists that Mr. Electric ensures Sharkboy, Lavagirl, and Max are gotten rid of. While in the dream graveyard, Sharkboy and Lavagirl try to get Max to sleep, so he can dream of something to help them escape. But this doesn't work, as Lavagirl then tries to encourage Max to do something. She asks if he can help her remember who she really is. She says she's not happy that she ruins everything she touches, and it bothers her that she might be evil. Sharkboy immediately interrupts them and gets angry because she's distracting Max. As Lavagirl stops Sharkboy from doing anything he might regret, Max sees Tobor's body parts. He instantly realizes that Tobor is in the dream graveyard because he never got to complete his work on the robot. He then wakes up Tobor and asks what he can do to save planet Drool. Tobor says everything lies in Max's dream, and all he needs to do is to go to the land of milk and cookies to dream about something that can help them. Almost immediately, Tobor leads Max and his friends to the land of milk and cookies. As they arrive, Sharkboy and Lavagirl try to get Max to sleep, but nothing seems to work. While thinking of what to do next, they're attacked by cookie giants, who look just like Max's parents. Luckily, the cookie giants eventually let them go, and Max tries to sleep again. His dream works for a while, and he produces a bike for Sharkboy. Unfortunately, Max starts to have a nightmare, so Lavagirl wakes him. As Max explains what he saw in his dream, Mr. Electric and his plug hounds show up. Sharkboy and Lavagirl then try to escape on the bike with Max, but it doesn't work. This then leaves them with no option but to fight the plug hounds. As things don't seem to go well for them, Sharkboy and Lavagirl encourage Max to dream of something to get them out. After closing his eyes for a while, Max dreams of a banana split boat. Even though Sharkboy doesn't like this, they eventually leave with it. On their way to the dream lair, Lavagirl commends Max for finally being able to daydream. She adds that if he keeps it up, he won't need to sleep before he dreams of incredible things. As they then try to decide what to do next, Max remembers what he saw in his dream. As he draws it, Sharkboy and Lavagirl recognize it as the Crystal Heart, which is kept in a place called the Ice Castle, which the Ice Princess rules. Sharkboy also adds that the ice crystal will be helpful because it can freeze anything they want, including time. Even though Lavagirl is not comfortable with the plan because she doesn't like ice, they all agree to head to the ice castle. However, as they get there, they fall into a trap set up by Mr. Electric and his plug hounds. Just then, Max realizes that there's someone else in his dreams. After they're captured, Mr. Electric takes them to meet Minus, who looks just like Linus. Minus shows Max his dream journal and explains how he has been able to change everything in there so he can control planet Drool. Shortly after, Minus sends them into a cage while he tries to change more of Max's dreams. While in the cage, Sharkboy gets angry and goes into a shark frenzy. This helps them escape, and Max also gets to steal his dream journal from Minus. As Max checks his book, he realizes that everything that has been happening is from his book. While he continues to look at the book, Lavagirl snatches it to see if there's anything about her history. As she touches it, she ends up burning the book, and this leaves her really sad. She then gets angry and asks why Max made her out of lava. She also starts to wonder whether she's evil, but Max convinces her that she's good. He then reminds Sharkboy and Lavagirl that they need to get to the ice castle to get the ice crystal. With only a few minutes left for the darkness to take over completely, Max leads Sharkboy and Lavagirl to the ice castle. Meanwhile, Minus wakes up and tells Mr. Electric to find Max and destroy him. As Mr. Electric asks how he can do that, Minus tells him to destroy Max's most precious dreams, which are Lavagirl and Sharkboy. Elsewhere, Max arrives at the ice castle with Sharkboy and Lavagirl. Sharkboy tries to get the ice crystal, but he fails, so Max has to do it. However, as he's about to get it, Sharkboy's fin breaks the ice pillar and Max loses the ice crystal. Luckily, Lavagirl catches the ice crystal, but she gets frozen in the process. This turns out to be another trap, but this time it's by the Ice Princess, who looks like Marissa. The Ice Princess says she can't let them leave with the ice crystal because it's the main thing that powers the ice castle. She also adds that it can only be used by her. However, Max pleads with her to give it up, saying they need it to freeze time so they can try to stop the darkness from taking over. She finally agrees and then gives Max the ice crystal. However, after they leave and make it to the dream lair, the ice crystal doesn't work. It turns out that they've also run out of time because Mr. Electric has allowed the darkness to spread completely. Sharkboy gets angry and goes to confront Mr. Electric, but the villain uses some electric eels to knock him out under the ocean. Even though Max tries to stop Lavagirl from jumping into the ocean, she eventually goes in and brings Sharkboy out, but this gets her weaker until she passes out. Max is left devastated by this, and as he starts crying, Tobor shows up. Max then mentions that he has been really selfish with his dreams. He adds that even though he could make the world better with his dreams, he was only busy trying to escape his reality. As he then asks what he needs to do, Tobor tells him to dream a better dream. Just then, Tobor leaves, and Sharkboy wakes up. He sees that Lavagirl is still unconscious, so he offers to take her to a volcano to wake up. As he does this, Lavagirl wakes up and regains her full power, which lights up the planet. Max appears to now have superpowers as well, so he uses his super speed to meet with Sharkboy. Max then tells Sharkboy to deal with Mr. Electric while he handles Minus. Sharkboy goes to confront Mr. Electric with an army of sharks, which helps him overpower the evil villain. Meanwhile, Max meets with Minus, and it doesn't take long before they start fighting. After a while, though, Max convinces Minus to switch sides and become a good guy. He tells Minus that they can achieve a lot by dreaming great things together. He also adds that if Minus continues to crush people's dreams, he'll end up crushing his own too. Just as Minus agrees, he falls from a tower, but Max saves him. They then settle their differences, after which Lavagirl and Sharkboy join them. Shortly after, Mr. Electric shows up and says he's not happy with Minus switching sides. Even though Max tries to get rid of him, Mr. Electric says it won't work because he's like a source to planet Drool. He eventually leaves and says he's going to put an end to everything. Max is shocked by this, and as he wonders where Mr. Electric is going, Sharkboy says he's headed for Earth. He adds that Mr. Electric is going to destroy Max in his sleep. At this point, Max realizes that he has been dreaming all this while. He looks disappointed, but Lavagirl tells him not to be bothered about it, because his dreams can be real. He then closes his eyes a couple of times and ends up back in his classroom just before the storm hits. As Mr. Electricidad tells all the kids to hide, Max stands up and says that what's coming is not a storm. Just then, Mr. Electric shows up, and this leaves everyone scared. Mr. Electricidad then asks the kids for ideas on how to deal with the evil villain. Linus suggests taking the fight to Mr. Electric, but it turns out to be a bad plan. Max then remembers that he still has the ice crystal, so he gives it to Marissa and tells her to use it to freeze Mr. Electric. Marissa does as she's told, and this works out just well, with Mr. Electric exploding. This also causes snow to start falling, and as he looks outside, Max sees his parents looking happy together, along with Lavagirl and Sharkboy, who are now on Earth. The next day, Max reads a report on what happened the other day to his classmates, who are happy to listen to him. He tells them about how Sharkboy and Lavagirl are now living happily together on their planet. Later that day, Max then sits at home with his parents as he fixes Tobor again.